Hello friends, this video on environmental issues part 16 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now we are going to talk about the next environmental issue, that is the use of agrochemicals. Now I told you, right, a lot of chemicals are being used in the field of agriculture these days to improve the crop productivity, but at the same time excessive use of chemicals is also causing harm to the environment. So here we are going to talk about those agrochemicals. So first of all, what are agrochemicals? So these are chemicals which are used in agriculture to enhance food production. That is why the name agro, which stands for agriculture, chemicals is chemicals. So some of the chemicals which are used in agriculture are insecticides, pesticides, weedicides. So these are some of the chemicals which we use. Now why do we use them? Because we feel that presence of an insect or a pest can reduce the productivity of that plant, and we do not want to reduce the productivity. Instead, we want to increase the food production. In fact, for that purpose, we also use a lot of fertilizers which contain a lot of harmful chemicals, because fertilizers provide additional nutrients to the plant so that the plant grows well, plant gives a lot of fruits or vegetables, whatever. So these kind of chemicals, they undoubtedly increase the production of food, but their excessive uses also have some adverse effects, which we will see very soon. So what is done to enhance food production? Now, as I said, what do we normally do to increase the crop production? Some of the common things that is being done is to enrich the soil with more nutrients, because when the soil has more nutrients, the plants tend to grow better. So when the plants grow better, they tend to have better productivity. So that's how it works. So how do we increase the nutrient content of the soil? By providing manure, by providing fertilizers. So now manure is something which is natural. It doesn't contain any chemical or anything. So in fact, cow dung also acts as a very good manure. But fertilizers are chemicals. So fertilizers have good effects, but at the same time it has adverse effects as well. We also use insecticides and pesticides to kill insects and pests that might harm crops. So these are some of the techniques which are adopted to increase the crop production. So now let us quickly look at each of these things. Only when we understand what is a manure, what is it made up of, similarly what is a fertilizer, what is it made up of, only then we will get to know that why using a manure is less harmful than using a fertilizer. So before we talk about the harmful effects of the agrochemicals, we should first know what are these agrochemicals. So first let us talk about manure. So manure is a substance that increases the soil fertility. Now what kind of substance is it? Let us see. Or how we can say, how do we prepare manure? Which substance is this actually? So it is prepared by decomposition of animal excreta and plant wastes. So all animal excreta like cow dung and plant wastes, maybe the leaves, fallen leaves and dried plant parts. So all of those taken and they are decomposed, means they are acted upon by the decomposers like bacteria and fungi. So they break down the organic matter and they break it down into simple inorganic nutrients. You remember when we discussed about decomposition, I told you that in the process of decomposition, that these decomposers, what will they do? They will break down the organic substances into simple inorganic form. And what is the simple inorganic form? It is basically the nutrients needed by the plant, maybe nitrogen, phosphorus. So it will get converted into all that. And all these minerals are like nutrients for the plant. So plant needs them for their growth. So this is how manure is prepared. So in manures, there is no involvement of any chemicals or any harmful substances. So they are all natural and they are all good for the plant. So it is made up of organic matter plus nutrients. So nutrients is nothing but the mineral elements, like it could be nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium or calcium. So all these kind of nutrients. And what is the function of manure? As I said, It improves the soil fertility. But how? It increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Now the soil is able to retain more water, and that is important because water is something which is required by the plants. Now if the soil has more water, the plant will able to get sufficient water and it will be able to grow. It helps in drainage. So it also helps the soil to drain stuffs. It avoids water clogging, because water clogging can kill a plant, because you would have seen that whenever you water a plant, so you always make sure that the water evenly gets into the soil, because it is from the soil that the roots of the plants will take up. But now instead of doing that, let us suppose you just pour a lot of water in just one pit where the plant is being planted. So what will happen? So the plant's root hairs, it will get blocked due to too much of water, and it will not be able to take in water. Therefore water logging is something which can damage the plant. So these manures, these substances, they avoid water logging. So with all these, they can improve the soil structure, and therefore the fertility of the soil will also improve. So what are the advantages of using manure? Definitely, when we are adding so much of additional nutrients, so obviously it is good for the productivity of the plant. There is no doubt on that part. So it is non-toxic, because it doesn't involve any poisonous chemicals or anything. So it is completely non-toxic, not at all harmful. It is eco-friendly. Now since it is not harmful, it is not causing air pollution or soil pollution or water pollution in any way. So we can say it is eco-friendly, that is, it is environment friendly. Recycled biological product, because the raw material for preparing manure is nothing but plant and animal wastes. So it is basically created out of waste products. So obviously it is a recycled product. That is all the more helpful, because our environment wants to get rid of the waste. So we want to utilize the wastes in the best possible way, and it is a recycled product. So now let us look at the next substance which is used for crop enhancement, and that is fertilizer. Fertilizer is a commercially produced plant nutrient. So basically fertilizer will also perform the same job as that of manure. The difference is only that manure is created from waste products, and fertilizers are nothing but chemicals. But these chemicals, they also provide additional nutrients to the plant. It provides those nutrients to the plant which are required for the growth of plants, and therefore it increases the plant productivity. So it results in higher yields and healthy plants. Now it ensures, now it doesn't cause any harm to the plant as such, because it purposely contains all that which is needed by the plant. So obviously it cannot be harmful to the plant. At the same time, since it is specifically made rich in those nutrients which are which are needed by the plant in maximum amount, so obviously the yield of the plant will also be high. So here you can look at a field which has been divided into two parts. So one part has a lot of fertilizer being applied on it. Now since the fertilizer has a lot of phosphate and a lot of lime, so what happens is this part shows a better growth when compared to this part, because this part has been starved by lack of plant food. So when I say plant food, fertilizers contain all the plant nutrients. So nutrients are food for the plants. So here there is no fertilizer, and here you have put fertilizer. So this much difference comes out with application of fertilizer. So when we talk about crop productivity, yes, definitely fertilizers help in increasing the crop plant productivity. That there is no doubt on that. But the question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages associated with the application of fertilizers? Like in case of manure, we saw that manure just have advantages. There are no disadvantages of using manure, because it is eco-friendly, it is a recycled product. So that means there are no disadvantages associated with it. But when we talk about fertilizers, there are certain advantages, but at the same time there are certain disadvantages as well. So let us quickly look at both the pros and cons. So first we will talk about the advantages. So let us look at the advantages of fertilizers first. So it provides nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to the soil. So that is the purpose why we use it. Otherwise, why will we use it, right? So when we use fertilizers, it provides a lot of nutrients to the soil which act as macronutrients for the plant. It results in higher yields if given in proper dose. So this is very important. Now, sometimes what happens is people think that, okay, if I give more fertilizer, the productivity will be more, the yield will be more. So sometimes people start applying fertilizer in excess quantities. So in that case, what will happen? Will the yield increase? No, not really. Because the yield is going to increase only up to a certain limit. Now, if you start using or if you start applying the fertilizer in excess amount, in that case, it might have adverse effect on the crop yield. So that means if given in proper dose, it will result in more crop production, and obviously it will increase the nutrient quantity of the soil. But at the same time, there are certain disadvantages also associated with application of fertilizers. It can cause water pollution if followed by excessive irrigation. Now let us suppose you applied fertilizer to the soil and immediately after that you irrigated the field, or maybe there was heavy rain. So what will happen? The fertilizer might get washed away with the rainwater and finally it will get disposed of in the nearby river or pond or any water body. So that means it will cause water pollution of the nearest water body. So that is one disadvantage, and therefore fertilizer application should never be followed by irrigation. Excessive use can spoil the soil fertility, organic matter and microorganisms are harmed, because fertilizer is nothing but chemicals. So too much of chemical application sometimes will kill the microorganisms which is present inside the soil, and we all know how important microorganisms are. They are the ones which help in decomposition of the organic matter and thus forms the inorganic nutrients required for the plant. So if the microorganisms are harmed, so basically we are spoiling the soil fertility. So these are some of the disadvantages associated with fertilizers. So now if you compare manure with fertilizer, you will see that manures turn out to be more advantageous because they only have advantages without any strings attached. So they do not have any disadvantages as such. They are eco-friendly, environment-friendly. So they do not cause any sort of pollution. But with fertilizers, we have the risk of pollution. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.